Hi, welcome. This is the ASP.NET Web API controllers video. Here I will talk about what is a controller, what is an action method, a little about HTTP verbs. I will have some code examples, and finally an overview about the request pipeline of ASP.NET Web API. So let's start by answering the question, what is a controller? And a controller is an entity that handles incoming HTTP requests and sends back responses. Also is a class that can be created by convention under the controllers folder, and is by convention because you can create in any place of your project, but people decided to create under this folder, the controllers folder. An interesting fact about conventions is once NASA lost $125 million on a satellite because half of the project was made using imperial measurements and the other half was made using metric system. So this is what can happen when people don't use conventions, okay? So conventions are very important. Moving forward, the name of the class must end with controller, and this is not a convention, okay? This is mandatory. Every class that is a controller must end with controller. And the last thing is the class controller must extend the system.web.http.api controller, okay? If we visit Hello World made in the first video, we can see that we have a controller folder, and under the controller folder we have a class, okay? The class begins with my hello and ends with controller, and also it extends system web http api controller. So the next question is, what is an action method? And an action method is a method of the controller that is public. Just that, okay? If you have a private method, it doesn't count as an action method, just the public ones, okay? They are based on incoming request URL and HTTP verb, get, post, put, patch and delete. And finally, the name must start with the HTTP verb, otherwise we have to use an attribute to express which verb applies to that action. And these are the actions from the Hello World. We have the controller, we have methods, they are public, okay, so they are actions. This one follows the rule of starting with a HTTP verb, get. This one doesn't. So we have to use an attribute saying that this action stands for HTTP get. So a simple way to see the HTTP verbs is: the post is for create, the get is for the read, put and patch to update elements, and the delete for delete, CRUD, create, read, update and delete. These two are difficult to understand, put and patch, because both are update verbs. And imagine that you have an entity on the server that is a music band, Black Sabbath, and the song is Iron Man, and you want to change just the song to Paranoid. If you use the put, you have to send in the request the name of the band, Black Sabbath, and the name of the music, the Paranoid, okay? If you use the patch, you just have to send the name of the music. This is the major difference of these two verbs, okay? So next, let's do some code examples. First, and before everything, I will prepare the project. I will reuse Hello World project, and I will go here to the folder controllers, right click, add and controller. I will select the web API to controller empty and add. I will give a name of people and add again, and this controller is created. After this, I will add here a class person that I already done and let me copy, let me paste. And the class person has an ID that is an integer. It has a first and last name that are both strings. The constructor receives a string first name and a string last name. It has an ID that is equals to the ID counter plus plus this ID that is static. The first name and last name are equals to the parameters that we received. So the next thing to do is add a dummy data. Let me copy, paste. We will have a static list of person that is called people. Okay, we will have here a static constructor for the class people controller that adds to this static list 3 people: John Smith, Peter Pan, and Marilyn Monroe. So the first thing that we will do is a simple get and post. In the code we say that we have a public enumerable of person and is called get, and we will return the people. The first action method is done. Now we go to the second action method, that is the post. Is a public void post, and we say that receives a string first name and another string last name. Inside say that we have a var p equals to new person, and we gave it the first name and the last name. Next we say that people adds p, just this. The first 2 action methods are done. Now it's time to test them. First we will test the get action method. I'll go here to the Postman. This is a free app, you can download it for free. The first step we need to do is set the HTTP verb is a get. Now we need the request URL. We go in the project, select the Solution Explorer, go to the Hello World and right click. Go to the properties, go to the web, and here in the project URL we copy this address. Go to the Postman and paste. Now we need to complete this URL, okay? So we go to the Visual Studio again, we can close these. We go to the Solution Explorer, go to the configuration folder and select the My Configuration file. We go here to the route template and we see that we have API/controller/action. First we copy the API/, go to the Postman, paste, go again to the project, and we need a controller and an action. We can close these. We have people controller, so we copy people, copy, go to the Postman and paste / we need a action. We go again to the Visual Studio and we are testing this, so we copy the name of the method and paste. The URL is done. The next thing to do is run our project. I go here to the Visual Studio and I have to click here, but because this is set to open a browser, in this case Google Chrome, and I will test this using Postman. Every time I will start this will open a new browser and I don't want that. Okay, so I go here to the Solution Explorer and Hello World project, right click and properties. Inside of the web we have here this start action, current page, start URL, and this option, don't open a page, wait for a request from an external application. In this case is our Postman. Okay, so select this one and save. Now we can run this. You can close this and click to run. It will compile and it will launch on a IIS Express version. Okay, the next step is going to the Postman again and click on send and receive John Smith, Peter Pan and Marilyn Monroe. the action method get is working properly. Okay, the next action method to test is the post. Okay, we go again to the postman. Let me save this one. We will give it the name get1, and we need to insert in a collection that we don't have, web API. I will give this name and select this one, save, close. Now let's create another one, is a post, and let me copy part of the URL. Instead of a get is a post, and the post have two parameters. If we go back to the project, we see that the post action method have a string first name and a string last name. Okay, so how we will do that? We go here to the body and select raw, maybe JSON application / JSON, select this, and let's give it a Kate and Anderson. Let's first save this. This is a post one, and it will be on the collection web API. Save, and now we can send. And the response is not found. Okay, no HTTP resource was found that matches the request. Okay, no action was found on the controller people that matches the request. This is a strange response, right? Because we have everything right, or we think so. Okay. Let me stop the project, and well, first we need to say, let's try this. Instead of receiving two parameters, we just receive one parameter. The last name will be empty for just a test. Okay, and let's say that this came from the body. Okay, so let's test this. Let's run again. Let's go to the postman and send again our requests. And now we have a response. Status 204, no content. So we don't have any error. Let's go here to the get and send a request for get, and now we have a Kate without a last name. Okay, so our post was successful. Okay, now let's try stopping this. Let's try adding a second parameter, the last name, and see what will happen. Last name, and paste here. So we have a first name and last name that both came from the body. Okay, run again, go to the postman, go to the post one and send, and we have an error. An error has occurred. Can't bind multiple parameters, first name and last name, to the request content. So we have here a problem. Okay, ASP.NET Web API don't allow us to receive multiple parameters from the body. Okay, so how we will do this? Lucky for us, ASP.NET Web API is a very smart guy. Okay, so we can delete these. Okay, and we say that from the body we will receive a person P. Okay, and we can delete this first line. We don't need to create a person. We just have to add the person to the people list. If we go to the postman, now we can put a JSON object. First name Kate, last name will be Anderson. Okay, I don't know if you can see these, so I will copy these and I will paste here for you to see. This is the JSON request. So the guy, the ASP.NET Web API, will receive this JSON, first name and last name, and he knows how to convert this into a object, the person, and then it will add to the people collection. Okay, so let me save these and run these. Now we go to the postman and click on send, and we have a response, no content. If we go here to the get and send a request, we will receive person with ID 3, first name Kate, last name Anderson. Okay, so we are done with these two first action methods. So let's see what comes next. Next we have to add two action methods, get people and get person. The action method get people is actually a variation of the first action method that we implemented, get. So instead of just get is get people, and it's just for you to see that you can have these kind of things. Okay, the next method is a little more complicated, is a public person get person, and now we need to get a person, a specific person. Okay, and we will return from people first or default x ID that is equals to the given ID. Okay, so we have these two action methods, get people and get person, that receive a integer that is ID. The first question that arises is where this come from. Okay, so this is a get, and the get can send through the query string. Okay, but let's do this in ASP.NET Web API fashion. Okay, we go here to the Solution Explorer and we have to go to the configuration, and instead of default new action say hi, we will add first here an ID. The route template will be API/controller/action/ID. Okay, and instead of these in the defaults we will have an ID that is equals to route parameter, and it will be optional. Okay, now let's go to the postman and create. Let me duplicate these and rename to get number 2, and this one will be get people, is the first one, and let's duplicate this and rename to get number 3. And the number 3 is get person, and now we have an ID that is optional, and in this case we will use, for example, we will get the ID, the person with the ID 2. Let me save this, let me save the third one, and what to do next? We must go here and run. And now we can go here and let's test the get people, send the request, and the response is John Smith, Peter Pan, Marilyn Monroe. Next, go to the get person with ID 2, send the request, and we get Marilyn Monroe. Get people and get person are done. Next we will have a person and add person. The action method person is actually a variation of get person. Okay, so let me copy and paste here. Let me remove the get. So now person, action method person doesn't follows the rule of having the get, the name of the HTTP verb. Okay, so we must add here an attribute saying that this is a HTTP get, is just this. The next method, action method, is add person. Is a post, we need to add an attribute HTTP post, and we will have a public void add person, and it will receive from body a person p, and it will add to the people that person p. And if you notice, this is actually a variation of the first post action method. Okay, this one. So let's do our tests. Let me run these so we don't have to go back, and for the get we can duplicate these and rename to get number 4, and it will have just a person with ID 2, and we will have a post. Let me duplicate and rename post number 2, that will, instead of people post, will be people add person. Okay, so let's save these and send, and we have Marilyn Monroe. Again, let's go to the post, save and send. We have no error. Let me get all, and we have here our Kate Anderson. Okay, if you go here, let me go to the body and add Jon Snow and send. Go to the get and send the request, and now we have Jon Snow. Person and add person are done. Next, put. And I decided to include the put here in this video because this is some kind of a mix of a get and a post at the same time. Okay, let me put here a public void put, and it will receive an ID so we can identify a resource. It will receive from the body person p. Okay, inside we will try to find the person. In the people we will first or default x ID that is equals to the ID that was gave to us, and if the person is different from null, we will update person first name with the p first name, and person last name equals to p last name, and that's it. Now we can run this and go to the postman. Let me duplicate from a post and rename these to put 1, and instead of post this is a put. It will be API/people/put, and we want to update the person with ID 2. Instead of Marilyn Monroe, it will be Marilyn Manson, for example. Okay, and let's send the request and receive no content. Okay, let's go here and to the get and get all, and now we have Marilyn Manson. Okay, so we have the put done. We have a get, a simple post, a get people, get person, person, add person. For delete and patch, it will be almost the same thing that I did with those action methods. Okay, so let's go forward. Now the request pipeline overview. First we have the client. In our case the client is the postman. Okay, we have the web API hosting server, that is the IIS Express that you can find here. If we go here, show all applications, and we have these. We have the web API controller, the code, the class that we created, and we have action methods. Okay, so in the beginning, when we click on the send button of postman, it will generate a HTTP request that the web API hosting server receives. Then it sends a HTTP request message to our web API controller, and then the web API controller sends a HTTP request message plus a model. For example, in the post cases, it sends a person, that is the model, okay, to the action method. The action method does what he have to do, okay, and then he returns a result to the web API controller, and the web API controller returns a HTTP response message to the hosting server. The hosting server returns a HTTP response to the client, to the postman. And this is the end. As always, thank you for watching.